Here I come. Okay, I'm going to ask you all to do something. Can you please come forward, those of you who are in the back? I feel that we're all too disparate, and at this time when we need to close an incredible 2 days, we need to be together. So if you can please come forward, and I also would like you to stand up for a second. So everybody get up. Everybody get up, everybody move around, everybody move. For those of you who were here yesterday, we sang, we danced. It was a huge space. There weren't that many of us, but still, we did it together. So come on forward. And before we start, maybe, I'm going to do 2 series of visualizations, if I may. So keep coming. Come on, I want to feel your love. So keep moving forward. I think we all need it. So I want everyone to close their eyes. And I do this often when, in particular, I'm in a room filled with government leaders and with business leaders. And I want you to walk down a street, you don't know where you are, and I'm going to guide you through a particular street that I know well. And unfortunately, there's a lot of noise, and there's a lot of pollution, and you get a plastic bag and it lands on your face and you have to throw it off your face. And then you kick something and you realize it's a human being. And then you kick something else and you realize it's a heroin needle. And then you keep on moving forward and you see in front of you 2 men jump out of an Uber, run into a shop, and steal some goods and come back out. And you're disturbed, and you don't know what to do, and you're anxious, and you're thinking, this is not what life should be. Now open your eyes. Does anyone know where you just were? Glasgow. No. San Francisco. San Francisco, that has the highest homelessness rate, suicide rate, drug addiction rate, but also the highest amount of wealth, technocrats who are now actually running the United States. And I bring that up, and then we're going to obviously go into a better space, because that's the reality. And we've been speaking for the last 2 days about the types of economies that we need to give people dignity, to bring love back in, but to ensure that people's lives and livelihoods within the planetary boundaries are the focus of our governments, of our businesses, and of all of us. And yet, the reality is that the place that I grew up and that I love is now called Poop Town, whereas previously that used to be a place, and apologies, we don't have any representatives for India, it used to be Calcutta. So it is very real that we have actually created the worst inequality that we've ever seen in the global north, and it is continuing to move across the global north. But we together, as a community, have the possibility to change that, to use all the incredible examples that we've heard about and to transform them into a new reality, a new alternative future. So I now want to bring up our closing panel to first reflect on the key messages that we heard over the last 2 days that really struck them, and then think through what could be core next steps that we can collectively do together and also personally. So please, I'm going to call you up. So Gary, Gabriela, Dora, Romina, and Rada. Oh, here, Romina.
What do you want to sit?
Where would you want to sit?
It's just you.
Okay, I'll go in the middle.
Yeah.
There we go. Please, you can sit down and keep on being close. because we need your energy, and hopefully you'll get some of ours too. So I'm going to, who should I start with? Well, I'm going to start with the token man on this panel. Let us not forget, in fact, yesterday, when we were here dancing, Lorenzo said to me, when are some men going to show up? Because I'm the only one that's here. This has been an incredible female conference, absolutely, Dora, but also incredible men who are part of this movement too. And so, Gary, what are some of your thoughts about the last 2 days? What has really struck you?
No, thank you very much, and it was a pleasure to join Lorenzo at the dancing last night. I think we've heard a lot about system change, the need to kind of bring together. The last session was about breaking down silos. We had some great contributions about framing, whether it's donor economics or mission, different approaches. So we kind of heard all of that. The bit I really liked or took was from the president today, though, and the kind of the thing about working collaboratively is not easy, and actually that's something I'll take back, because it is really difficult, even within the wellbeing economy governments. There's always dynamics, things changing, and you've got to invest in the people that you're working with. And I think, so I'm an economist in this conversation, but I think when we come with partners, whether it's health, social, environmental, climate, we've got to give up a little bit of our own to kind of, for the greater good, and I think that's a challenge. And so this conference, I think, to me, is really about kind of forging those links and getting that kind of that energy. And I think we've seen so many examples of it through the sessions. It was really, really powerful. So for me, the recognition that I think I'll say to people at the start of meetings now, I know collaboration's hard. How can we make it easier? What can we do? And I think we need to be more upfront. We do spend so many times at meetings defending our own position, don't we? So if we're change makers, we've got to be part of that process and give up a little bit. And I think for Dora and the conference, the mix of people that you've brought here, the diversity of voices, the young people, I think we just need that. We need that to kind of shake it up and make things kind of happen.
Thank you, Gary. Very well put. I'm going to turn to you, Romina, as well. And what are some of your reflections from the last 2 days?
So I'm going to start on a personal note, because this has been a very re-energizing conference, very, very rich conference. So I've been filling my cup. We started yesterday, somebody said, first you have to fill your cup so that you can actually fill the cups of others. So I've been doing that. Thanks to all of you for that. And I also wanted to just quote the president this morning when she said, we always have to remind who we want to be and what we want to do. And we want to be Team Courage, and that doesn't mean we have to create, a new project, which I think to the technocrats and bureaucrats of us is actually good news. And I also wanted to remind to all of us that we have been invited to stand still with Iceland, enjoying the 50th anniversary of the women's strikes in Iceland on the 24th of October, and I watched the documentary, coming here. It's a great documentary, so it tells the story of the women. And I think, actually, today we were blessed, and yesterday too, because I'm sure we had many of those women, and probably these were children, and actually not just the women. The men were also the children that had those mothers doing that first strike, that very smartly called actually taking a day off, because they didn't want it to politicize too much, the thing. So they said, okay, let's call it a day off. And that worked very well. But of course, I also, on a more sort of professional note, if you allow me, took a lot of notes, because I'm coming from the OECD, so of course I'm a very serious person, and when I'm back, I will have to write a lot of notes in terms of what I learned, and I learned a lot. So I think in terms of the tools, I think we heard a number of very interesting ideas. Some of us talk about data, metrics, not so much perhaps, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more in terms of next steps there. But it obviously is something that has emerged as we were discussing, because there is always this point that comes back: are we actually measuring, things in the right manner? How do we define success? And do we need metrics? And where do metrics start, but also where do they stop, right? And so we had that conversation. We talk a lot about principles of well-being economists here, but also outside. And we had a number also of bilateral discussions, people that were saying, well, this is what I think. For me, these are the principles. And I was discussing with somebody from the Center for Policy Development, I hope I'm getting this right, from Australia, that was showing me actually a very interesting publication that is explained how they're doing it. And I recommend actually to everyone to read it. I glanced at it during the break and I thought it was great. But that also makes me think that actually there are a lot of resources that this community can leverage and should leverage. So I think we have a lot of solutions. I was very impressed with the session that was talking about cities, and we have, Kira talking about, this very impressive project that WHO ran, but also, the cities, of course, that is hosting us today with the mayor, and also the stories of resilient communities, and so the trans actually communities of indigenous communities to start with. I think something we heard, something we want to learn from. Finally, of course, we always discuss, we discussed, as always, when we with you, Sandrine, and some of the others, what is the narrative? And I'm looking at Gabriela. So what is the narrative we need now? I think, to me, the kind of key words are caring for one another. So it's really an economy that is embedded in a society, that is embedded in planet Earth, and is embedded in something even bigger. So that's the narrative. So that is, what Kate was sharing yesterday with us, but it's one where we care for another, one we provide for one another. I'll leave it here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Romina. So collaboration, systems change. What's missing a little bit is the metrics, yet we know we have the tools. And leveraging all those resources, and then ensuring that we translate all of that into the narrative. Gabriela.
Now I'm on the spot.
You're on the spot, yeah. What are you thinking about also how you're going to bring this back to UNESCO? Because this is a very important time in UNESCO. We've got elections coming up. In fact, you're up for election. We're all rooting for you. By the way, if you want to get some flyers, get some from Gabriela. Yes, absolutely. Clearly, UNESCO is also wanting to build that narrative, in particular also through education. And we've had a lot of discussion around what does this mean for education. But what is some of what you heard today in particular, because you weren't able to be here yesterday?
Well, first and foremost, I was very lucky to listen to the president, which was great because she really put the political, more human kind of touch to this discussion with no qualms, and that's great. I have to say that this is my third well-being forum, so I have been working and also with Romina in the OECD, and then with Gustavo in UNESCO and Eleonora. But let me tell you, what I see here, it's an amazing community that wants to make this work. Mm-hmm. And this is very important. Call it stats, call it data, call it frameworks. The well-being framework, amazing. You have also, you were discussing, Gustavo, the question of well-being economy as good business, as good economics. We need to prove that because we talk with economists, so we cannot just go with the more humanistic part because you need to make economy work. You also have the donut economics and the complexity, and all of these things are really important in terms of the frameworks to try to build this narrative that is different and that is more integrated, that put people at the center, but the people at the center means that you also need to bring the context, the environment, societal, and then how do we measure things that are so complex? And that economists usually, or the traditional neoclassical economists, didn't dare to get into that, which for me is the more important. I mean, the work that the OECD is doing on loneliness, but you remember just ensuring that we measure fairness. How do you measure fairness? And fairness is the thing that is really putting everybody against everybody, because you feel that the world is unfair. Inequalities are really high, and therefore I feel that all of these concepts that are so dear to people need to come more upfront. So kudos to the participants. I think this has been an amazing journey in terms of the analytics, in terms of the substance, in terms of the frameworks, and this is very good. But if you get out of this room, you say something is wrong because nobody's listening in terms of how we take decisions, in terms of politics, in terms of the political economy, in terms of the obstacles. So we need to turn this discussion that is so well framed into political discussions, because we need to see who wins from the way things are run in the world. Who wins from not achieving climate transition? Who wins from continue to measure GDP? Let me tell you, I'm always looking at, there comes a GDP, quarterly GDP. No, please don't come. Because then people relax. Okay, 3%, perfect. And then we forget about these issues. Why don't we change those metrics at least to have a complement to say, okay, we grew this quarterly 3%, but the impact on the environment was this, and the impact on distributional impact was this. So I think this is something that we have done in the management of social transformation program at UNESCO, trying to see, okay, you want to be productivity growth, at least in the same space, the impact on the environment and the impact on social. And then you go for the political economy of these things. Because what we really need is to get out of us that we consider championing this agenda and being the usual suspects, because we always are together in this one. But we need to bring it to the reality of people that are taking the decisions. Kudos to the countries that are already doing it, using this framework. But I think that we need to think why change is not happening as the rate it should, and it has to do with this political economy of who wins and who loses. But in any case, I feel that we're making progress. We're making progress at recognizing that we need to change. And that's very important, because the outcomes are not good. And I think reality will impose one way or the other. And it's imposing because the political outcomes are telling us that something is not working. So I feel that we need to be ready there when change comes, when politics are taking up these kind of instruments to ensure that they take it up. And in the meantime, let's try to rethink what we educate for. Let's try to bring culture and music and meditation. Let's try to bring, as you said, Romina, when we started this work, it was a multidimensional well-being framework for the economy, multidimensional framework for humans, because we are not homos economicus. We are more than that. We're inspiration, we're ambitions, we're dreams, we are so many things. And I feel that connects super nice with music.
Yeah.
And you say, well, let's dance, let's meet each other. And I love my panel, because my panel, I've heard that. My children went to the chorale. It was amazing, because they say that once you have sing with a group, you will never get separated, because you did your best hand in hand with others, and this is an experience of achievement, joint achievement, purpose, that is just amazing. So let's just bring more people to sing in politics. Let's see. How do they do?
More to the crowd.
I won't be there.
A little bit of dancing too. Dora, I'm going to turn to you, and then I'm going to turn to Rada, because she's our wonderful youth voice. You've heard what some of us have all collectively said over the course of the last 2 days. Are you pleased?
If you are pleased, then I'm pleased. I'm happy if you are happy. When I'm reflecting on those last days, and what was the aim of this? Did we reach our goal? And it was to consider what are the values that are guiding our society, and what are the values that we want to guide our society and our lives. And we didn't mention it, but on your name tag, you could add your value. So, and in the first session with Michael, Weatherhead, he asked us to choose a value, and that was, and why that value was important for you. And I know that the most important value for me is love. And I think I've been thinking about, what was it, how Gandhi phrased it, we need more people who are interested in the power of love and less in love with power. So I think I've been thinking about that a lot. And then I'm thinking about the action. I mean, what are the acts of love? And what are the challenges, as you were asking us in the first session? Why are we struggling in, like, loving ourselves, knowing ourselves, connecting with ourselves, loving nature? If we were in love with Mother Earth, or we would love Mother Earth, I mean, would we treat her better? Or if it's a her, or the nature. And then more love to others. Like we've been focusing on working on with HADEA, the president, how can we show more acts of kindness or love in the society? So then it brings us to connection. So love is the value, and then connection is a thing that is very strong in my mind now. And it was also last year, and this, I mean, I love also connecting people who are interested in making the world a better place. And that's why I love to be here with you, because we are here together and we share this passion. We want a better world. So connection, and we're talking about bridge builders. And last year we were thinking we need to connect better between the silos within university. This year I've been thinking about how to connect more to the general public. And I'm just going to talk about a bridge builder in my life that you met this morning, my childhood friend, the hairdresser. Me and HADEA, we shared the same hairdresser, and he was the bridge builder. He brought us together. But more importantly, he also was the bridge builder and got me and my husband together. So he is a very important person in my life. But he actually said, because we are really good friends, we've known each other, so I said, Dora, I didn't understand what you were doing, and I know you're this optimistic, and you really, I love that, how you think that we can really change the world, but I mean, we're never gonna turn away from the economic issues. I mean, we're so, all those material things, I mean, this can't be changed. But actually now, 3 years later, I'm starting to believe that we can't do this. So I said, yes. If he thinks that, I think we're one step further. But I think it's also reminds us of, the journalist asked me, do you think that the general public do understand well-being economy? No, I don't think they understand well-being economy. But what is this the message? Do they need to understand well-being economy? I think it's more about what HADEA also said this morning. The most important things in life are not taught in schools. And why are we not teaching social emotional skills in schools? Why aren't we teaching those skills? Why aren't we training young people in enjoying life? As Lorenzo was saying, we are miserable. We are ruining the planet. It would be okay maybe to ruin the planet if we were happier and having the greatest time of our life, but we're not. But so there's something wrong, and I think that's the thing. We can't keep on going like we've done before. We need to change something. We don't know exactly how to do it, but it's absolutely clear that we need some changes. We need to change the system.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Dora, and thank you again for hosting us so graciously, really.
Thank you for being here.
Deep gratitude, I think, from all of us. Beyond the fact that it's wonderful to talk about these issues, it's also wonderful to come together at this time, because many of us are getting hit with the chaos on a daily level, and you fluctuate between despair and hope. And so it's always lovely, even if there aren't that many men in the room, Lorenzo. Last night it was just lovely to sing together and to stand together in unity. My dear.
Yes.
What are some of your thoughts?
So firstly, I want to thank you for inviting me and maybe to be the youngest participant here.
How old are you?
22.
Oh.
Is anybody under 25? Please raise it.
I wish I was 22.
So yeah, so firstly, thank you very much for inviting me. So what really resonates me, that we have seen here so many countries that implement this type of thinking of well-being, of thinking of equity, equality, solidarity, and sustainability, and to thinking for people as individuals, and to think about nature and the future, which is ours. And but that make me think to reflect to my home country, Bulgaria, which is more like complaining about things, mainly negative focused, and we are far away from this sustainability thinking. So during these past 2 days, I completely changed my mind. Change is possible, and I'm feeling inspired and motivated to make some change. And as your president said, I will be the first participant of Team of Courage.
Oh, nice.
Start from the small and focus changes, and to make the world better place, starting from Bulgaria, and hoping that next year you're gonna make another session, which will be not global to local, maybe local to global. So,
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Well done.
Thank you. Very beautifully said. Right. It makes me quite emotional, so I'm going to try to recenter myself. I want each of us to finish this session, and then I'll finish with another visualization, if I may, Dora. Yeah. By just bringing in a few words of what you're going to carry with you when you leave. What's your next action? Maybe I'll start with you, Dora.
Yeah. So we've already started think about the next session. It's the continue with the university program, and then some action about engaging with the general public and bringing the businesses more as also, Hadla said, B team, there are some other ideas. So 3 actions that we will be focusing on for next year.
Fantastic. Thank you. Gabriela?
You know what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
I'm going to win. I'm going to win.
Electioneering.
I'm going to win the DG of UNESCO, and I have 3 eyes.
Yes.
And I'm not inventing this because I'm here. I presented it to the board as my vision of UNESCO. And UNESCO, as you have seen, I think that here you also have champions for multilateralism, for institutions that are strong, that lead the way, that change the narrative, that help countries to improve their policy settings. So I have 3 I's, which is inclusiveness, for rethinking education. Again, I'm just bringing what I said. To get culture as a public good and actually to insert it in development. Innovation to use science, more science, protect scientists, protect journalists, protect freedom of speech, and actually protect this work, marvelous work that is being done to really change the stances in our member states. And third, for impact, because we all should be focusing on impact. Very good to have the analytics and everything that really help us to move forward the discussion, but we need to be thinking how this is going to translate into impact. So I hope I will see you next time as Director General.
Fantastic.
We'll see.
We will be sending good vibes your
Yes.
way, and also electioneering. And yourself?
for myself, it's not the time to wait for permission to lead. So we need to take an action. And I'm so glad that you let us, the young people, to be representing here, not just to speak, to participate, to watch all the presentation, and actually to be active here. So really thank you for that opportunity for us, because we are the main force, we are the drivers of innovation, and should be considered in the decision-making process. So thank you very much for this opportunity again. And this is appeal for all of you here in the audience, to let the young people to participate more in your actions, because we are your future, we are the new generation, so please let us.
Thank you, Rada.
Definitely.
I think your gratitude really has to go to Dora and her team for noticing that last year there weren't as many youth voices, and that was one of the key actions in the transformation that we saw in this year. And I think the only other thing that I would add is that we need an intergenerational dialogue. I feel a huge sense of responsibility, as I know we all do, for where we are today. It is not your responsibility to change what's happening. It's our collective responsibility to make sure we do it together. So I just want to make sure that you feel that we're here with you. We're not expecting you to do all the work. Gary.
Yeah, no, thanks very much. It's hard to follow all of the comments. I think just to say to Rada, change is possible. And I think for one of my takeaways is to try and continue to be a positive influence for change. We're privileged on this stage with the opportunities and roles and influence that we can do. So there's something about kind of taking that change away. I mean, for me, I kind of go back to the economy all the time, and I think we need the business voices as well. I'm less worried about people not having different definitions of wellbeing economy. At least it starts a conversation. Why are we putting wellbeing before economy? So it starts a different type of conversation, but we definitely need the business voices. I think Romina's done, through the OECD, have done a great job of measuring what matters, measuring all of the stuff. And I think what we're seeing now is policies and actions, and we need to take those, share them, and scale them up, because we need to be able to show that this makes a difference. And if otherwise, then it can be just another talking, another framing of things that people have done before. So it's really kind of, the rubber's got to hit the ground, it's got to make a difference, and people have got to say the difference. And then from a government perspective, we deal with fiscal challenges, you deal with complexity all the time. But there's something about outcomes and something about maybe concentrating on the policies that hit more than one outcome. So there's some things that we can do that just, I think last year we talked about tipping points or super policies. There's some areas of policies that we could do, and it would help break down the silos. Because I think we're all part of the problem. We all have opportunities to influence and change that. So loads, great conference, lovely to meet, connect. I think Romina, we've been kind of refilling our cup a little bit. And it's hard because through the WeGo network, we meet virtually. So it's really nice to get a chance to connect with people again and actually ask them how they're doing, rather than the conversation you have when you come on a call late at night and then you're kind of talking technical stuff. So the lights are flashing, so I'm going to stop.
Yeah, I wonder whether there are, sending us some seniors here. So the first thing I'm going to do, again, I'm going to join the 24th of October movement. So please, again, do that with me. So a day off on that day. The second, I'm going to, of course, keep working on data. So me and the OECD, of course, not just myself. So in that area, perhaps a couple of important things to flag. One is that even if indeed we've done already a lot of work, I think the OECD probably has worked on this 20 years, there is still work to do on data and measures and metrics. So we created a working party on well-being statistics, and Gabriela, having been in the OECD, knows and can testify how hard actually is created something like a working party in the OECD. But that was a long day, and we're very proud of that. Yeah. But that also means that we have a very, very now strong constituency of the best statisticians in the world that are going to advance this very, very well. So that effort will continue, and I think there are still a number of areas that we need to look at. But the other important initiative in this area is a UN initiative, which was announced just yesterday. I think some of you saw it. So by the Secretary General Office of the UN, and so a new group, a high-level expert group, on Beyond GDP indicator was announced. And so we're going to support that UN-driven initiative. And we're very happy that this is a follow-up from the Path for the Future, and is going to help us not only on the statistical conversation, but actually the whole objective of that piece of work is going to underpin new international frameworks of cooperation, which is something we desperately need right now. So a lot of things on data. Quickly on research, because we also do a lot of research, as you know, and we will continue doing that. I think today we discussed social connectedness, and we heard that a lot has already been done, but we want to do more. I think today, Lucia, who was the young person in our panel, talk about meaningful interactions and meaningful social connectedness, and that was in opposition to, to the digital connectivity, to the fact that, we spend hours and hours on screens, and, yes, we are connected, but actually we're not profoundly as human beings. And so I think this keywords for me of meaningful interaction is something that we probably want to do more on. And the other, I think, theme of research, and I'm sharing it because I like to see whether there are people interested to collaborate with us, is on the value of time, which, again, we discussed, some of us. And I think, what it means, time, it means actually build space for ourselves. And, for caring for each other, for providing for each other. So yeah, I think it's a very central component of economies and well-being. So I think it's a lot of interesting work that needs to be done there. So I invite every one of you, if you're interested, to come to see me and tell me how you want to work with us. And finally, just a word on what Gary was saying about the action. How do we turn the metrics, the frameworks, the analytics that are so important, but how do we actually turn this into action? So I think WeGo is a brilliant initiative. We have created a platform in the OECD that is called the Knowledge Exchange Platform that we want to collaborate even more with you, but it's really there, again, to sort of help governments to work together on those things and make sure that they can actually embed it systematically. They can actually struggle in many of them. I think this is what we're hearing, right? There are beautiful examples, but it's not easy. And so I think creating that type of space where they can sandbox, to use your words, Sandrine, I think it's really, really useful. So that's one area where I think could be interesting to actually also link with business action, which of course is so important. So how do we align here the incentives of policymakers and the businesses? That is very important. So I think perhaps we should have some focused conversation within some of the platforms. And yes, so I think that there is, again, I think the need to, so I know many of you are active, but I'm always a little bit frustrated that we can't bring all this together. And of course this was part of the reason why we were here. So just come and tell us what you're doing, and we're trying to do it together.
Thank you, Romina. So I'm going to just quickly add my own, if I may, thoughts, and then I'm going to ask everyone to stand up again, and then we will close. I think that your level of impatience is one of the greatest tension points that we feel in this community. And I want to be honest about that. Some believe that this is about the inner is more important than the outer for the moment, and others believe that we absolutely fundamentally must get some action. And finding some kind of bridging mechanism between both is fundamental, because we all need to build the inner as well. That's very important. What I see as we leave this room is the necessity to have some of those difficult conversations. And I will promise, because it's part of my CV, actually, I seem to have always, for the last 3 years, led difficult conversations between the business community and government. Yeah. And right now, this is not just an American problem. I can tell you that in Brussels, there is a real difficulty in bringing back the heart and soul into policymaking at the European level. Some people may have thought that it never existed, but I can promise you that up until a year ago, the well-being economy and thinking beyond growth was absolutely anchored in the agenda, even in the European Green Deal. And now it's not. We're talking defense, and we're talking competitiveness. Two of the key concepts that are in complete opposition to everything that we've discussed in terms of really moving towards a well-being economy. So I promise to continue to have those difficult conversations. That also means that we need to not only speak to each other. That means we need to speak to different political parties. We need to understand how we can bring some of those citizens, governments that are moving towards the right, at least into an understanding that the move towards a well-being economy is a move that is better for everyone. And that is a narrative shift, as well as anchored in an understanding of new economic models and what that means in practice. So I also pledge to continue to work on the new indicators and an understanding of existing indicators and how we can actually move forward beyond GDP. But the last point, and this is where I'm going to turn to all of you, is I was really taken by Hala's call to be Knights of Love and to be soul models. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think each of us can be a soul model in whatever we do, and we can also hack love and humanity into everything that we do, no matter which conversation we have. Even when we are speaking to a neighbor that we may not get along with, or a government that pisses us off, or anyone else, somehow we have to bridge the divide because there is too much hate and anger and fear that's permeating across our societies for the moment that is not enabling us to move forward. So to become Knights of Love and soul models, I want us all to stand up. And the antithesis of that American nightmare that I described for you, which is a real nightmare. As we speak about an American dream, I'd like to contest that the American dream no longer exists, and many would say never existed. And instead, take each other's hands or put your arms around each other. And this may seem really woo-woo, and it's not. It's not.
I feel as if we're doing it over.
Okay, here we go.
Here
we go.
Pizza.
Yeah.
And just take a deep breath. And blow out all of that frustration and fear and despair. And feel the energy. And this is coming back to what Hala told us, that energetic hack. This is the energetic hack. This is when we realize that we're not alone. Building capacity of champions is enabling all of us to feel empowered in what we need to do, but we need each other. And we need to show our authenticity and our vulnerability as we move forward. We need to realize it's going to be tough before it will get better. And for that, we need to be Knights of Love and soul models. So thanks to all of you who've stayed with us for the last 2 days. This is the well-being economy. This is the well-being community with so many more. And let's make sure that next time, this room is so overflowing that you need to move to another space.
Okay.
Thank you.